Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the market wrap up for today, May 23rd, 2024. I'm Ceres Trader, and welcome to the market wrap. It's 4 p.m. right about now, and the markets are closed. We had a pretty eventful day in the market in the sense that the NASDAQ actually did hit a new high, but it has sold off, and we are starting to see real good selling structure in YM, the Dow, and the other indices. The NASDAQ is following, and I'll be happy to get into that here shortly. But let's start where we always start, which is the dollar index. And on the dollar index, again, another strong day. We're moving higher off of this base, off of this trend line. We have a target of 107.50 in the dollar, and that alone can, frankly, provide a big headwind that all the other assets priced in dollars have to go through. Doesn't mean that they can't go up. We noticed that gold did go up quite a bit earlier this year and even up until recently. So, a higher dollar doesn't necessarily make for lower asset prices, but it does provide a headwind, and it is something for everybody to think about. We're going to look at crude oil now, and crude oil actually had a difficult day, and it's good for us because what I noticed yesterday was that crude oil was really trading a 23.6% line on the fib from highs to lows, and it has done so actually for the last month. And what I was expecting was a move back up to these fibs here, but we never got it. And instead, we back traded a trend line going higher, and we've been trading down ever since, really for the last week. And today, overnight, we actually had a little rally that ended up culminating around the 78.65 level. That was a 50% halfway back short from highs. And we took the initial short yesterday. We got stopped out, but we ended up reshorting it, and it turned out to be a really good trade. We are closing right down at the lows of the day and at the lows of this move. So if oil does keep selling off, we have targets that go to 7607, 7482 here in the short term. In the longer term, our targets are 7416 and 6999. In that sense, the Fed's going to get their wish that lower oil prices should mark a receding inflation trend, and in that regard, the Fed may not be forced to do much. So that's probably good for the Fed. It may be difficult though for the markets, and we'll go over what that means here on gold especially. Looking at gold, we had this big breakdown from this support level here, and it was really a flag, and so I'm going to call it that gold has officially broken down from this support level and from this area. And we were expecting that gold would potentially rally. It didn't. We broke down rather hard actually, and since then we've been trading in what I would call extensions. So when you look here, here's an example, and this is where your trends get really, really locked in. So you're seeing how gold has traded this 61.8% line once. It ends up trading this extension a second time here at the 23.6% line. It trades it again at the at this 23.6% line again last night in Asia. So that's extension number 3. We get to extension number 4 here, and we actually trade this extension twice. Once overnight in London, another time here in the morning. So that's the 4th extension. And then we've started going into what's known as extensions of extensions. So we have a fifth extension here that's traded, and that traded just after noon. And then we actually had an extension of an extension of an extension that has traded this late this afternoon, and that continues to put gold at its lows. So, until these extensions break, we're not going to go up for our normal retrace. Now, our normal retrace is a pretty substantial one if we get it, but until we see that normal retrace, a move back up to 23.74 on futures to 24.10, we're still locked in and heading lower. Our next target for gold is the 23.24 level, based on actually the 23.30 level based on this initial fib. We've got some larger targets based on some of these other fibs that could even go a little bit lower than that, but we're getting close to the point where at some point gold will turn, and it will probably turn in conjunction with the other markets. Silver, similar. Silver has a much easier Fibonacci pattern to understand. Overnight, we ended up we've been actually trading overnight lower, and then we had a very brief spike up here in the morning, and then that spike has since receded. That spike took us to the 38.2% line, and that's why we're down and headed to this objective of 29.83. This is a significant level, though, because that is the level of our previous support. So we'll be looking for silver to potentially hold that level, and that might be where the metals have to go in order to get some type of rebound. The other metals, I'm just going to kind of skip through. Platinum and copper both have had significant declines as well. Copper, I would say, is really threatening to go to the bottom end of this daily range on the Bollinger Band, and in that case, there'd be a pretty substantial weakness here. We've got another 40 to 50 cents of potential weakness in copper, which is a gigantic move. We've already had a 50-cent move down, so we've had almost an 8-9% decline in the price of copper just in the last 2 days. So I think that you can see how the metals have really changed over the last couple of days. Let's get into the indices, and we're still short the YM, so I want to go through that one first. A number of the folks here on our channel have actually been short the YM. And for those on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. For those, if you've got a question, please leave it in the comments. I'll get to it. For those who are part of the Ceres Trader signal service, if you're in on the Discord, feel free to drop us a question here on the chat. I am monitoring it. So happy to answer any questions that you may have there. But let's take a look at YM. So I'm actually going to do a full fib from the highs because I think it's going to be just easier for everybody to see and where we're at. And I think that you can look at the highs. We're going to look at it on an hourly basis. And recognize that we are, from a daily perspective, let's first look at it from a daily perspective. We are really putting in what I would consider a double top. So you don't have to look very far. Just look at a daily chart. You see the highs, high peak number 1. Here's peak number 2, and then now there is really not much standing in the way other than a daily fib that we've got to break in order to confirm it. But if we drop below 38,436 and close, that would confirm this double top pattern. But I think that you could look at the intraday and just assume that we're in shorts, and I'll share that with you here shortly. Looking at the intraday time frame, when you look at the way that we broke down, and we broke down really fast, and it was pretty violent. So let's take a look at that. We ended up having really over the last couple of days. On Tuesday, we ran into our first short, and that was at the 38.2% line, and it ended up diving down, and we ended up selling it yesterday. Um, and that sell ended up having another sell that leading to another sell. So we had a retrace overnight, and that led to another sell that occurred once in the Asian session, and I think I had called this out, but I didn't take the trade. I waited till the second test, and we got the second test here in the morning, and that second test ended up spending about an hour up there at that 61.8% line, the 39886 level. We sold it when it started to decline, and as you can tell, it was just an amazing trade. We have 900 points of profit in this trade, or well, 800, because I think I sold it up around the 39,840 level. So, and it's now at 39,150. So a really good trade, and we ended up holding it all day, and we still continue to hold it. Now the issue is that we're obviously trading an extension. The extension traded actually around noon today at the 38.2% line. Notice we did not have a regular retracement move up, so that extension short actually traded to its objective and then went beyond it. So we're actually now in extension of extension territory, and ultimately at some point these will break. But we have a move scheduled up to the 39,247 to 39,329 level. There should be a normal pullback there, and so that's what I expect in Asia overnight. Not that dissimilar to what we had last night. In Asia, there was a bit of a retrace, and then we found a place to sell, and they sold. I would say that we're coming towards the end of the week. It's a holiday week. A lot of people, frankly, would take today off, and so that's part of the reason why the move today was pretty exaggerated. Or they'll be taking tomorrow off, and so because of that, we had just a big liquidation. Tomorrow, I suspect we'll have a lot less volatility, and ultimately, we'll see YM probably trade up to these levels here shortly, and then it will get an opportunity to sell it. But tomorrow will more than likely be a range day. I don't expect too much volatility, certainly not as much as we had today. Maybe we do get down to 39,031 after we visit 39,288 and that level. But really a great trade for us in the YM, so I was very happy to have called that one. Now, the weakness in the Dow, which frankly is one of the weaker indices, it mirrors the weakness that you're starting to see in other places. So I'm going to share that with you. The RTY, the Russell 2000, well, we did break some of those longs. And so I think that you can consider the Russell also in the same category. The Russell has a triple top pattern on the daily chart, and I think that that's pretty significant. Looking at the Russell going forward on the 15-minute time frame, which we can do, you saw a similar pattern. And so basically from highs, we did trade the 61.8% line after the first, and we only traded it once, and then we have basically been selling off ever since. You will notice for lack of a better word, a megaphone pattern or an expanding wedge here, culminating in this drop that took place today where we just went way through it. We have additional, it's a little bit, the chart, here's the halfway back short that we ended up getting into today, at a similar spot. Again, notice, you had the retracement, and that retracement ended up failing at our fib level, and we have been trading down ever since. The Russell 2000, the small cap, and the Dow are the weaker of the indices. Now I'll get into the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 was strong, really, up until today. And today was where it had the big issues. And we had been trading on a daily chart in this balance range at the highs. Today we peaked above the highs and then we closed below that peak, and then we actually closed through the range. So this would be categorized as a reversal day. And because of that, we're starting to see some weakness on the daily slow stochastic. We're not yet through, so obviously the market can repair itself if the S&P can find a way to figure out how to rally from here. It could keep the rally going. I don't think it will. I think that we are in that sell in May phase and go away. And I think that that's what people are going to be doing. So, but let's take a look at the intraday charts. And on the intraday charts, you can see what happened and what took place today. And I would say that it's a violent day. I would also say that there wasn't a lot of places to get in. You literally had a rally that took us to new highs, all-time highs. And so that was a good spot for everybody to look for sells, and they sold. And then on the rebound at the really in the morning, you got your first opportunity to sell this, and you didn't even get to the 50% line. They really started selling it just before, and you can see that it's actually traded to its target price 2, its TP2. So, given where it's at and what the market is doing, what do we expect for S&P going forward? I think that we're trading an extension here, and so we've actually just over the last a couple of hours rallied towards the top of this extension or towards the fib levels in this extension. We'll probably trade something like the 38.2 or 50% line, somewhere between 52.89 and 5300, and that would be a good opportunity for a sell. So that's what we're looking for, and there was a little bit more strength in the S&P 500, as you can tell, late in the day relative to the Dow or the RTY. So that's what we're going to be looking at there in the S&P. And then last but not least is the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is the stronger of the two of all of the indices. Yes, it did peak above, and it also fell. However, we are still technically in and a potential extension long, and this extension long has a history. It traded once, and that was able to take it to the highs. So the fact is, we could be trading, when you reset the extension long, we could be trading this extension long again for number 2. Now, this will ideally fail because if it fails, then all the indices will be in what I would consider bear setups. But right now, this is a bull setup, and this is probably where the market future ends up residing. If we get a rally here, it could stabilize the other markets, allow them to get into their retracements and move forward. The Nasdaq still could continue to hit new highs. All that being said, you certainly had within the daily intraday session, you actually had a short that traded perfectly at 18.913, 18.914. That traded to its TP2 target, which is right here, and so that's where we sit. We will be expecting that that there is a at the moment there is a extension short that is currently trading that is trying to keep a lid on the Nasdaq. If it's successful, and if we trade beneath this 18,604 and we close there, that would null and void the long extension that we're also currently in, and it would really confirm what I've got in terms of a thesis, that is that the markets are going to enter in a bear phase. But we'll see. That's kind of where we're at there. Now, I would say that all this market action has actually caused Bitcoin to sell off, and Bitcoin is back to selling off in its big retracement level up here. And I shouldn't say it's retracement level. It is really what it is it's a balance range at the top, and it's a really incredible balance range in the sense that we've spent a lot of time here, and we're destined to spend more. When the NASDAQ was rallying, one could easily see how this market was primed to go to potentially 80,000 on Bitcoin. Now that we have the NASDAQ potentially selling off, what does Bitcoin do? It sells off as well. And so we are getting back into a potential, there's the first leg of this. Now we're going to see whether or not this market holds with a second series that goes higher from this low to here. And what you can see is that the NASDAQ actually traded this once. Or not the NASDAQ, the Bitcoin. Bitcoin traded this once. A second test of this 66,271 level is likely. If that test fails, then we're potentially back into shorts, and the move downward that we had started actually in April could continue. It's been a difficult market. It has been, you've needed to understand that, we're in a tug of war, and this is just what's happening right now with Bitcoin. Bitcoin could certainly trade down here. This level here, 64,952, is the only level that keeps Bitcoin up and going to the right. Otherwise, a break of that level, Bitcoin drops, and we've probably retest this 56,000 low that we saw early in May. So that's Bitcoin. Let me check and see. Do you guys have any questions out there? If not, I don't see any. So I'm gonna call it a day. It was a great session. We went 2 for 2 in the morning session with our short of oil and our short of the YM. We're gonna stay in those shorts. I know oil is kind of holding back up here, but we're gonna stay in those shorts. I think that eventually oil is gonna break. So that's the expectation. And obviously in the YM, we're going to stay with that short as well. Hopefully, for those that did take profit, you were able to get back into it, and you did have an opportunity with that short extension to do just that. But we'll go from there. Tomorrow is the last trading day of the week. Then we have the holiday weekend. So Monday will technically be off, although there will still be trading going on across the world, and so there will still be trades to be had, and we'll get into it at that point. Again, have yourself a good evening, and we'll see you bright and early here tomorrow morning. Have a good one.